On an Earth variant, where colossal creatures called Titans frequently clash, King Kong resides in a realm known as Hollow Earth. This primeval underground habitat lies deep within the globe, characterized by distinctive gravity and perpetual radioactive force that nurtures the beings there to immense proportions. Once, Kong is pursued by massive wart dogs, leading him to the brink of a precipice where he's devised a snare for the monsters to plummet into. Kong hurls a log, triggering another snare, making boulders tumble onto his foes. The wart dogs persist, but Kong seizes one and rips it apart, bellowing as the gore splashes over him, asserting his dominance over the territory. In fright, the wart dogs flee. Subsequently, Kong cleanses in a cascade and devours the foe he vanquished, snarling from the agony of a decayed tooth. Abruptly, he detects a bellow afar, and the diversion lets a vast lizard pilfer his prey. Kong battles briefly before yielding, captivated by the sound he overheard. He trails the clamor but encounters merely an insignificant creature, not his kin as he anticipated. At the same time, on the Earth's crust, Dr. Eileen is employed by Monarch, an agency that monitors the worldwide menaces from Titans. She operates a unique mechanism to observe them and confirm they're not causing mischief. Eileen frets over Kong since he hails from a communal species and ought to have companions. Whenever a malevolent creature emerges to ravage a metropolis, the iconic Godzilla surfaces from his marine abode to combat them and safeguard humankind. In Rome, an immense arachnid-like fiend begins to wreak havoc on the boulevards, and Godzilla promptly materializes to confront it, inadvertently wrecking some edifices along the way. After flinging the fiend about, Godzilla causes it to detonate with his nuclear blast. He exults in the triumph with a bellow and retreats to slumber within the Colosseum. At a Monarch station in Hollow Earth, scientists observe intense energy signals emanating from the chasm of Kong's wart dog snare. Eileen is swiftly informed of this and soars to the Hollow Earth entry in Barbados, where Director Hampton reveals to her the substantial surges on their detection grid. Simultaneously, at the Monarch Base Academy, Eileen's foster daughter Gia begins to feel lightheaded during her lesson. She shuts her eyes, and her hands flutter involuntarily as flurries begin to descend in the classroom. Out of the blue, she experiences a premonition featuring the Titans, and the educator rouses her, only to find she has inadvertently scribbled illustrations across her assignments and the tabletop. Post-lesson, Gia is tasked with tidying her desk, and the educators express to Eileen that Gia is struggling to assimilate. Through gestures, Eileen attempts to communicate with Gia, who merely expresses her concern for Kong and her sense of alienation on the surface. It is revealed that Gia is the sole survivor of the Iwi tribe from Skull Island, Kong's initial habitat. Subsequently, at their residence, Eileen discerns a correlation between Gia's sketches and the anomalies on the sensor panel. Concurrently, in Hollow Earth, an enigmatic Titan lays waste to the station. This event jolts Gia from her slumber, plagued by bad dreams, compelling Eileen to reassure her that all is well. The following morning, Eileen sets off for Miami to seek out conspiracy broadcaster Bernie, who has previously aided her with Titan-related issues. He consents to collaborate once more, provided he can journey to Hollow Earth. In that instant, Eileen is notified of yet another energy fluctuation that Godzilla detects as well. He swiftly departs from Rome to pinpoint the origin, inadvertently toppling more structures in his path. Concurrently, the gateway opens, and a wave of alarm sweeps through the base, but it turns out to be Kong, seeking assistance for his dental trouble. As the researchers administer a tranquilizer to Kong, veterinarian Trapper arrives in his specialized plane and employs it to extract Kong's decayed tooth, substituting it with a robust metallic implant. Subsequently, Bernie informs Eileen that he's deduced each energy peak corresponds with a Titan's emergence on the surface. His assessment deduces that this energy signifies a call for aid from Hollow Earth. Hampton gives the green light for a squad to descend, so Aviator Mikhail escorts Eileen, Bernie, Trapper, and Gia in his state-of-the-art plane, tailing Kong as he leaps back through the portal. The voyage is a kaleidoscope of wild lights and tremors that leave Bernie feeling euphoric, yet it's entirely secure, and promptly they arrive in Hollow Earth. A flock of verticines glide close by, prompting Trapper to clarify their innocuous nature and engage the craft's stealth feature to merge with the surroundings. Elsewhere, a Monarch unit hastens to France, where a nuclear facility is ablaze. The troops stumble upon immense footprints and ascertain Godzilla's presence, siphoning the radiation to rejuvenate. Illuminated by an internal radiance, Godzilla confronts incoming Monarch aircraft, batting them away and then downing them with a burst of azure luminescence. Hampton updates Eileen that Godzilla seems to be gearing up for an event, but their communication is cut short due to the energy disturbances in Hollow Earth. Arriving at the Monarch station, Eileen's group is horrified to find the researchers lifeless and the facility in ruins. A blood-stained paw imprint, not Kong's, marks the stone walls, and Trapper interprets it as a declaration of conflict. They spot an intact security camera, which they hope will shed light on the events. In another location, Kong reclaims his axe and descends into the chasm he fashioned earlier. He stumbles upon radiant crystals and the remains of his kin. Lured by distant bellows, he traverses a waterfall to a hidden subterranean domain. There, a silhouette approaches, revealing a juvenile primate named Suko. Kong's peaceful overture is met with aggression as Suko bites him and beckons a troop of apes to assault. They overpower Kong and wield his axe against him. Nonetheless, Kong's strength prevails, and he repels them. Amidst the skirmish, Suko leaps onto Kong, who then uses him to fend off the attackers. During the tussle, Kong rescues an ape teetering on a precipice, only to be betrayed as it attempts to stab him, prompting Kong to eject it off the edge. The last ape flees in terror, and Kong hurls a stone to hasten its departure. Kong then asserts his supremacy with a roar and inquires Suko about the origin of the weapon, leading Suko to take on the role of his navigator. Before long, Suko leads Kong to a spring for a sip, behaving rather oddly. Out of nowhere, a massive serpent beast emerges from the water and ensnares Kong, coiling around him tightly. Suko bolts, yet he's stopped in his tracks by the axe. It appears Kong has swiftly beheaded the creature. He pauses to feast on the serpent and even offers some to Suko, who is taken aback by the gesture after his deceit. Aboard the aircraft, Eileen reviews the security tapes and identifies an ape as the culprit behind the outpost's destruction. An energy spike abruptly sends their vessel into a nosedive, but Mikhail manages to stabilize it in the nick of time. Jia, attuned to the energy's origin, guides them to land, and they proceed on foot, following her lead through the dense foliage. Trapper detects an odd scent and suggests a retreat, but Mikhail, asserting his authority, dismisses the warning. That's when a tree entity devours him, prompting the rest to flee. Eileen attempts to summon aid, but her communicator fails her. Meandering for a bit, Jia stumbles upon ancient relics that appear to be remnants of the Ewai tribe. At the rear lies a grand edifice adorned with an effigy of Mothra, the sovereign of the monsters. A luminescent insect settles on a triangular motif on the wall, inciting Jia to engage it, unleashing a stream of water. Trailing the rivulet through the edifice, they come across a living barrier. Trapper's contact causes it to illuminate, and Jia parts it, unveiling the hidden domain. Meanwhile, in Spain, the populace scatters in dread as an energized Godzilla traverses the metropolis, making for the sea. Ea Monarch submersible shadows his route, deducing his destination as the Arctic Ocean, home to the belligerent Titan Tiamat. The analysts conjecture that vanquishing Tiamat would amplify Godzilla's might. Several hours later, the Monarch submarine reaches Tiamat's territory, only to have their radar scrambled by the Titan's potent energy. Out of the blue, Godzilla's nuclear breath lights up the zone, inflicting heavy damage on the submarine and thawing an ice layer, rousing Tiamat. The magenta-hued Tiamat springs forth and entangles Godzilla, who counters by tearing off a chunk of its hide. In retaliation, Tiamat sinks its teeth into Godzilla, who then starts to power up by siphoning its energy, culminating in an atomic ray that breaks through the crust. Tiamat falls, and Godzilla proceeds to its den to assimilate the residual energy. Simultaneously, Eileen's crew is startled by a sound and quickly finds themselves surrounded by spear-armed warriors. Upon recognizing Jia, the warriors agree to lead them to their goal. They reach a radiant cavern and unveil a whole Iwi society capable of telepathic communication. They gaze upon multiple vortexes on the cavern's ceiling, portals that could whisk them around the globe. The tribe's chieftain connects with Jia's hands, sharing ancestral memories and learning of Jia's surface world experiences. In content with the exchange, the chieftain orders the guards to free Eileen's group. The team is guided to a crystalline structure, and Eileen concludes that the distress beacon was emitted from this spot. The beacon, transmitted through the massive crystal, warned Godzilla of a looming menace. Further into the Iwi sanctuary, a unique fluid is dispensed, casting light around and unveiling the Iwi saga on the walls, which Eileen deciphers. In bygone eras, the mighty apes shielded humankind, yet a despotic ruler, the Skar King, marshaled an ape legion to subjugate the terrestrial realm, sparking conflict with Godzilla and his allies. Godzilla stepped in, banishing the Skar King and his cohorts to Hollow Earth to avert more onslaughts. Nevertheless, this peril is on the brink of resurgence, and Godzilla is bracing for it. Solely an Iwi progeny can resurrect Queen Mothra and reinstate harmony. Concurrently, Kong trails Suko over a skeletal bridge into a torrid zone, appalled to witness fellow mighty apes in bondage, toiling arduously. As a sentinel chastises a laborer, Kong intercedes, arousing the sentinel's ire. Kong neutralizes the sentinel with a blow and insists on a parley with the chieftain. The Skar King emerges, taunting Kong's metallic incisor. The Skar King seeks to reprimand Suko for guiding Kong here, but the laborer Kong previously shielded intervenes. The Skar King heartlessly hurls the laborer into a magma pit, enraging Kong. A clash unfolds, with Kong brandishing his axe and the Skar King wielding a lash made from another titan's vertebrae. The lash nearly throttles Kong, yet he overpowers the Skar King, casting him into the chasm. Determined to prevail, Skar King brandishes a radiant crystal on his lash, invoking Shimo, the titan behind the Ice Age. The crystal torments Shimo, compelling its compliance with Skar King's will. Shimo unleashes a frost beam at Kong, who tries to parry with his axe, but the assault is too mighty. encrusting Kong's limb in ice and inducing frostbite. Debilitated, Kong is ushered from the cavern by Zuko, eluding another frost beam. His kin snatch Kong's axe and give chase. Kong triggers an array of snares to impede his chasers, yet finds himself trapped. As the apes reckon they've outwitted him, Zuko springs a snare, burying them under tumbling stones. Suffering, Kong leans on Zuko as they venture toward the humans, oblivious to an ape shadowing them. Concurrently, Jia bonds with fellow Iwi youths, discovering camaraderie. Bernie chronicles the Iwi's crystalline society, captivated by their ingenuity. An alert blares, and the Iwi part the barrier to reveal Kong, arm-wounded, under the watchful eye of a faux ape who relays the scene to Skar King. Skar King rallies his forces and ascends Shimo, bracing for a conquest, while Zuko observes from afar. In the Arctic, Godzilla stirs, radiating a fresh magenta hue. Kong, too feeble to rise, slumps, and Jia signals they'll assist him. Trapper examines Kong's wound and unveils Operation Powerhouse, a contraption meant to amplify Kong's vigor. He salvages components from the ruined station and equips Kong with an immense gauntlet, reinstating his agility. Kong validates his augmented force with a ground-shattering punch, content with the outcome. Zuko alerts of Skar King's looming onslaught, spurring Kong to vault through a vortex portal to Egypt, inadvertently damaging the pyramids. Godzilla, alerted by Kong's bellow, departs to engage him. In tandem, the Iwi ready Jia, who energizes a vast crystal, rousing Mothra. The Iwi commence their exodus as Mothra ascends to the surface. Godzilla, bathed in a new magenta aura, lands in Egypt. Kong, weakened and unable to stand, tries to signal the looming danger. Misinterpreting Kong's gestures, Godzilla launches into combat, slamming him against the ancient pyramids. Kong retaliates, using his mechanical limb to haul Godzilla towards the portal. In response, Godzilla's atomic breath scorches the pyramids further. Mothra swoops in, driving Godzilla back, while Jia employs telepathy to elucidate the predicament. Understanding dawns on Godzilla, and he consents to join forces with Kong. Meanwhile, Eileen's group, alongside the Iwi, infuse a crimson elixir into the waters beneath the pyramids. This act triggers the crystals, generating a gravitational wave aimed at corralling the malevolent titans. Skar King, undeterred, orders Shimo to encase the crystals in ice. Just then, Trapper's aircraft, flanked by Verticines, descends upon the Ape Legion, unleashing bioelectric assaults. Amidst the chaos, Shimo's icy blast zeroes in on the fleeing party, but Godzilla and Kong unite against Skar King and Shimo as the crystals emit the wave. The gravitational distortion levitates the titans, yet their battle rages on in midair. Mothra forms a protective barrier over Trapper's vessel and the portals. Zuko, joining the fray, repels the ape warriors with hurled stones. Shimo's frosty beam almost ensnares Godzilla, but Mothra's interference grants Godzilla the chance to break free with a surge of magenta energy. As Mothra ensures the safe descent of Trapper's craft, Zuko confronts an ape sentinel, sealing its fate. Kong retrieves his axe from the adversary and engages in a fierce exchange with Skar King, who wields his whip with precision. Unfortunately, Kong's grip on his axe is short-lived as a portal yawns open, whisking all the titans off to Brazil. Onlookers at the beach scatter in terror as the waves solidify and the titans emerge from the icy depths. Skar King, seizing command, orders Shimo to deploy its chilling abilities, casting a shadow over the sky as it begins to encase the city in frost. In a sudden turn, Godzilla unleashes an atomic beam at Shimo, while Kong delivers a forceful punch to Skar King, dislodging one of his teeth. The battle rages on, with the four titans clashing violently, tossing each other across the landscape and laying waste to numerous structures in their wake. As Skar King hurls a structure with his lash, he and Shimo converge on Kong, compelling him to shield himself with the glove from Shimo's icy onslaught. In that critical juncture, Godzilla, fully powered, unleashes a blast at Skar King, who nimbly evades and counters with his whip. Godzilla, with a swift motion, snatches the whip in his jaws and flings Skar King to the ground, shattering the whip and sending the crystal plummeting. Amidst the fray, with Kong still bracing against Shimo's beam, Godzilla targets Skar King once more. Skar King leaps, attempting to reclaim the crystal, but Godzilla's timely shot knocks it from his grasp. Seizing the moment, Godzilla pounces on Shimo, engaging it in close combat, while Kong and Skar King grapple fiercely, each vying for control of the fallen crystal. The battle rages on, a testament to the titanic struggle for supremacy. In a sudden twist, Zuko emerges with the axe and smashes the crystal, unleashing a shockwave that hurls all the titans backward. Shimo swiftly regains its senses and grasps that it's no longer under Skar King's command. Kong and Godzilla then begin to toss Skar King back and forth, akin to a tennis ball, and in a turn of retribution, Shimo directs its ice beam at its former master, encasing him in ice. With Skar King immobilized, Kong is able to hurl him to the ground, shattering him completely, while Godzilla's atomic breath purifies the skies. As tranquility is restored, Mothra escorts Jia back to Hollow Earth, where the young girl affirms her desire to continue her life on the surface alongside Eileen. Mothra mends the veil, and an exhausted Godzilla retreats to the Colosseum for rest. Meanwhile, Kong and Zuko mount Shimo and return to the ape tribe, where where Kong is hailed as a hero and embraced as their new sovereign. Don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications to catch more videos like this. Thank you for watching.